Good morning, guys. How's everyone doing? Are we attacking JFresh's market crash predictions already? It's only 12:32. He wasn't even here last week. You guys are ruthless. Good morning. How you guys doing? Whose crash is this Monday? I don't know. Did you sleep? A little bit, yeah. I gotta, slept last night. But no, I wanted down last week. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna waste a perfectly good crash prediction on a fucking the end of the month. Gross. So dorks crash. No, I called that I get to predict first after September OPEX. Cause Dork got the last quad witching. That doesn't mean I'm gonna predict a crash. It just means I gotta go first. My puts want you to. Well, we'll see what happens. The options chain is a fucking mess. Hmm. Guessing most of that's pretty short dated, right? Interesting. My puts want you to. That's nice. What's up, NW? Oil's down due to ceasefire hopes. Based on what happened over the weekend, I'd bet those hopes get dashed. It's ridiculous that they existed in the first place, right? Alright. What are we gonna get into this week? Friday was weird. Memes, please? Hmm. ETF FTDs aren't gonna be till end of this week, beginning of next. That doesn't seem worthwhile. Are you expecting less volatility up till FOMC? I mean, that shouldn't be the case, but it could be. Works for me. Thank you. GME looks like shit. It's still getting shorted pretty hard. Yeah, quite hard. Um, it's almost broken back down through delta and gamma neutral. Let me see. I think he meant meme 7. No, he didn't. Did you? I was gonna do those anyway. Equities still suck. I mean, you're not gonna see me have a lot of interest in equities during like mega cap earnings season. Any chance of Jimmy falling below 20 soon? My underwater cover calls are asking. So some of the at the money delta fell off on Friday. Like 112 million. DN and GN fell back down to 20. And Gamma Max is getting a little bit closer to spot. Maybe after the ETF FTD period. It could fall below 20 sooner, but I think that's kind of unlikely. But after ETF FTDs, that would make sense. Let's see what the August expiration looks like. Yeah, Jimmy's starting to fall kind of into the negative gamma, but it's still like fucking everyone's still buying like 25 to 30 calls or selling them at least. Um Charm's still pretty negative. I'd say it's pretty unlikely we go below 22 this week, but it's not impossible. Most of that put OI is sold, right? Let's support at 20 on the call side. My $25 call is sold. Yeah, it looks like they're probably majority sold. Um, but I mean, they still represent positive gamma to the upside, right? Sold or not. Um, Probably unlikely that they squeeze though. No, no, I wouldn't say MOAS, but maybe like I might get like another test of gamma max through the ETF FTD period. Everyone's everyone's long as fuck on like the R1K, R2K, so that should put a little bit of pressure on the short positions as they roll over. Every day a 3% move on what? Go EV Fubo Beyond. Uh, Upstart's getting shorted again. Still not very illiquid. That probably has a little bit more room to the downside. Fubo is getting shorted really hard, but it's staying at $1.50. So they're just shorting the fuck out of the earnings vol, the bump in earnings vol. Um, what strike are they selling? Looks like all the interest is at $1.50. People selling $1 calls. Savage. It's like 40,000 contracts between $1.50 and $2.50. Just a shitload of sold puts at $1 and $1.50, but most of those are out past like September. Like the Leap contracts and the the Jan 2026 contract has a shitload of sold puts. Yeah, this probably isn't going to go Mm. Are earnings declared for the 6th? Oh, okay, yeah, they are. So, I don't know. Maybe some I might get a little bit of upward pressure into earnings if IV keeps churning up. Um, they're not shorting all of the IV that's coming in, just most of it. HV isn't really moving up. What about IV 60? Um, hmm. Yeah, I mean, I want to say they're shorting most of it, but it kind of looks like they're shorting all of it. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess they're just gonna try to keep IV as crushed as possible. It's probably mm, they're probably trying to keep it from breaking a buck 50, but if it does, it can run off like 250. Hmm. Beyond, Beyond's getting shorted pretty hard. They also have earnings coming up though. And Beyond IV isn't getting shorted down either. It's rising. But so is Delta, and Gamma Max is at like 18 right now. There's actually a decent amount of Delta on the chain for Beyond. That's interesting. It doesn't look bullish, but it doesn't look like it's gonna fall too much. If it gets out above like 750 or $8, things could start moving a little bit more positively. But right now, I would say it's probably stuck between 550 and 650. Yeah, there's a lot of sold puts though. Above 6 starts to get clear of the sold puts. Call interest is out at like 750, 8, 9, 10. Someone sold an absolute fuck ton of puts at $5. So yeah, Beyond looks a little bit interesting. Go EV, probably nothing special, but CSPs are worth a lot of money. Yeah, just people selling shitloads of $2 CSPs and 250 calls. Some more adventurous people are selling the 250 and $3 calls, which is interesting. Yeah, I think oil still looks pretty good. I think we're the local bottom, and we bounce between here and 5,600 for 1 to 2 months, then Black Swan dive. I think they're trying to form a bottom. They're definitely selling the vol into the downside, but I don't know if we get back to 5,600. I rolled them out to September, just hoping it falls before I have to roll again. EPAM 300. Probably not. Well, unlikely. It looks stable. Um, I think it's setting some decent support on the gap up. Probably We got earnings August 8th, so we got like 2 weeks. Might see some price improvement into earnings. I mean, the OI on the chain is still basically nothing, right? But it's a bit more liquid than it was. So I still don't think those are having a big effect. There's a big put wall at 220. There's another pile of puts down at 200. Um, yeah, probably not a lot of upside, but maybe not a lot of downside on it either. I would say it could stay in this channel at least till earnings, and then if earnings are good, maybe, but big risk, right? They did guide down on them. I already took quite a bit of that off the table. I don't want to carry too much exposure into earnings. Dolphin, thanks, JD. That was me looking at Mag 7 between peaks and valleys. Thoughts on EPAM? Okay, covered that. Any thoughts on IWM this week? I mean, I'm gonna continue to trade it because it's choppy, and I think this breakout is kind of weak. Um, why is volume turned off? There we go. Yeah, I don't think this is a very strong breakout. I think there's pretty decent resistance on IWM to the upside. Just given its proximity to Gamma Max. Gamma Max is at like 232 right now, and then Vega neutral's at 228. Those are kind of moving away from spot, which is usually not very bullish. And meanwhile, GN, or I'm sorry, Gamma Max is at 232. GN is staying like pinned to spots. There's still plenty of downside interest. Um, so I would say it's probably pretty likely that it pulls back to gamma neutral at 218 at some point this week. Delta has been building up a little bit, and so has the positive gamma. So the market makers' exposure is kind of bullish, but I think that could pull back. If we go out to the 816 expiry, yeah, 225 is a huge resistance, and I shorted that almost every time we came close to testing it this week, and that was pretty awesome. There is a small chance it could break out above 225 and move up towards 230, but I think that range is pretty dead. Like, there's just not a lot of interest, like 26, 27. There's a little bit of support at 23, 22, but not a ton. And then the next major levels down at 220. So I think more of this like reject at 24, 25, pull back to 22, 21, and then just keep doing that for a little while. That's kind of how everything's positioned. If we fail 220, it gets really bearish again. Kind of like the failure here prior in the week. That's like the long-term trend. So when we fail that, it tends to pull back pretty hard. That's already happened a couple of times now. If that were to happen again here, I would expect like that additional, like $3 or $4 to get realized. Can you touch on Carvana? Since earnings is this week, I have theta, but out of the money, 10Ps, averaging down to break even. Just want to gauge positions. Thanks. Have an awesome Sunday post stream. Yeah, let me take a look. Carvana's been really choppy between like 25 and 30. Rejected another test of like, what was that, 27, 36, or 136.45 on Friday. Fell below risk. I've been like buying weeklies and taking profits on the tests near like 120. That's been pretty good. I have calls sold out above 140 for the August OPEX. I'll probably pull those back before earnings, and depending on if this drops over the next couple of days, I'll pull back a bunch of my puts too. I might leave some runners just to see what happens at earnings, but um, I think speculation's just staying high because used car prices are dropping. And I mean, I think people are assuming that their sales are going to go up, but it also means that the value of their inventories are declining, which isn't such a bullish outlook. Right now, hmm, let's see. So, Vega neutrals at 137, which it got almost rejected off of on Friday. Delta on the chain has been pretty flat for the last like 2 weeks, but Gamma's turning a little bit positive, so we're getting some short dated call interest coming in prior to earnings, which might just be people trying to like buy to close short calls. Looks like there's a shitload of call interest out at 145, 150 still. But at the money, the options chain's pretty fucking dead. Yeah, we just keep bouncing between like 125 and 135. I think largely because Gamma's just pretty flat here. There's nothing going on. There's a bigger pile of calls out at 140, kind of a big pile of puts out at 120. Everything in between those is pretty flat. Son of a bitch. Is that not loading again? God damn it. See how vol's looking. Implied vol is rising. Realized vol is staying pretty flat. Yeah, that might pressure some of the short calls, but there aren't very many of them to pressure. But I would say it could keep sliding between like 20 and 35 for the next couple of days. There's really not a lot stopping it going either direction. Can you tell Jamiroquai to stop being so fucking awesome? That's something nobody's ever said. Got any good ultra long plays? I usually put those in Pickle's picks. There was one a couple weeks ago, I think. I'm not particularly interested in going ultra long anything right now that's not defensive. Did you end up looking further into the fires in the Pacific Northwest? If so, did it affect your outlook on lumber? Not really. I saw them and I looked into it, but I don't think it's gonna have a huge effect yet. A lot of the land that's on fire isn't particularly tied into the lumber industry. Some of it is, but I don't think it's nearly enough. A lot of that's like state and federal parkland. Are you still in PAX? Oh yeah, yeah. Got you about 2x. Is there a certain VIX level where you stop selling 30 DTE SPX condors? Yeah, 16. Thoughts on 2 to 3 DTE strangle on XSP? XSP is illiquid and garbage. The problem with that is that you need to generally sell those strangles when they're in the money, and XSP is really bad for that. Like you're not gonna get a bid without a ton of slippage. It's not that you can't use it, it's just really shitty. Like any of the I'm pretty sure any of the like yeah, IWM, SPY, QQQ, all of those are gonna be way better for liquidity. You just can't cash settle them. The singer says his channel Iroquois spirits by wearing a headdress. Oh god. You think Intel's going to be affected by the alleged defects in their 13, 14 gen CPUs? No, because here's why. I think Intel's already not worth anything. And the only value they have is that the US government is going to basically fund them until they become the next, like the US version of TSM, right? And so that's the only thing people are betting on, right? And no one, I think everyone's given up on them trying to compete in the processor space for the last like 4 years. Like AMD just took all of that market. Intel's planning up to 15,000 layoffs. Bullish. IWM's probably pretty exciting for FOMC. As far as range goes, I would say it definitely has the most potential right now, with QQQ running a pretty close second. Because remember, if the Fed does nothing and they imply that they're not going to do anything at the September meeting, right? Um, like if they kind of stick with that projection of no rate cuts for the rest of the year, um, then everyone's going to leverage tech back up again. Will you check out CRI? I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but good divvy seems like a good buy. Big volume on Friday. Footwear. I mean, you think that was because of their earnings, maybe? Where their EPS beat, but revenues are down? Uh, that feels like an outlier as far as cost of goods sold. Some slight improvements to net income over the last 4 quarters. Their debt kind of sucks. They're already trading at like a pretty decent multiplier. Mm. Which is their dividend? They should stop paying that. So they're trying to transition out of retail stores and more e-commerce. Yeah, they've also been trying to push their brand out to other retailers so they don't have to run their own. Which is good for them in the long term. I'm just not sure that this is a great price. Hmm. I wonder how liquid the options chain is. Probably not very. Um, Pretty fucking illiquid. Seems like there's a decent number of buyers at 55. If it had a more liquid options chain, I'd be like, you could just DCA like 100 blocks, and then if it falls below 55, you could just start selling in the money calls till it starts recovering. But I don't think you'll get fills on those. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little overpriced. I'd have to see like the data on the e-commerce side of things. It's true. I used Intel for years, and I started my build several years ago. I switched to AMD after years of them being irrelevant. Yeah. Well, it's not just you, right? It's data centers. Wireless chipsets, they compete with like ARM and Qualcomm there. There's more data. Intel finally made a statement too. Okay. I mean, I don't know what people like want Intel to lose, right? Like there's just not that much. There's just not much that much more market cap they can dump, right? What are they going to go back to $25? I mean, as long as the Chips Act continues to promise them all of the U.S. fabs. then they're gonna hold value, regardless of how badly they fuck up on their product lines. Yeah, the fucking if they got rid of the dividend, I might be all about it, but I really hate that they're paying 5.59%, especially with their debt to equity ratio. Some of those companies are so determined to just keep paying out their dividend every quarter, and I've never understood why they're not just more flexible with it. Like, sure, you'll lose some long-term investors, but you'll get new ones, right? When the price drops. Cotton futures have dumped as well, so COGS may go down in a quarter or two. Okay, that might be worth it. I'd still want to buy it like what, I don't know, maybe like 6x, not 9. 9 seems way too close to their competitors. What's your preference for FOMC? Good old straddle on SPX? Usually, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I just straddle SPX every night, because why not? Loyalty to old customers is important. I'm talking about investors, not customers. Who gives a shit about the customer? ARM and QCOM are pretty big despite the thought that Intel remains number one in that space. Microcontrollers in general, like for sound and other features, make me still like Intel around these prices. If Intel drops at 25 again, I might buy some. But I can't see myself buying it above that. Kirk said to his customers. I mean, from an analysis perspective, we don't give a shit about their customer loyalty, right? Most of their money's not made on gamers buying 14th gen Intel chips for their fucking PCs. If they fix internal structural problems, maybe. I mean, Intel's just been mismanaged forever, right? They had like a clear lead against AMD through most of like the mid 2010s, and all they had to do was invest more money into R&D and less money into share buybacks, and like AMD never would have caught up to them, right? But they didn't want to put any money into R&D, so they fell behind, and they fell behind way faster than they thought they would, right? It's just proof that no matter how massive the moat, management can still fuck everything up. How dare you, dork? I posted charts. Am I going to analyze them by myself? As it turns out, technology improves at a rapid pace. I mean, Intel assumed that AMD couldn't catch up over like a 3-year time period. So instead of continuing to invest in R&D and staying like 5 steps ahead of AMD, they allowed AMD to catch up. And not only did AMD catch up, they surpassed them very, very quickly. Um, and the fucked up thing is Intel could still turn that around. They're just not doing it. Why not? Because they don't give a shit, right? They're gonna get fucking billions of dollars from the CHIPS Act, and they're gonna own all the US fabs. So they can just transition into being TSMC. Why keep make everybody's chips? Why make your own? And that's what supported their share price, right? It's pointed at Doric. Speaking of semis, that's fucking tempting. Look at that volume. Long SoxX, short Soxel, and then long IWM. Hmm. Interesting. Do it. Just bet on the collapse of semis. I mean, they're cyclical, right? It's not gonna last forever. Like 90 days, 90 or 180 days, something like that. Not a fucking weekly. Until it's like Ford, except not a total disaster and likely redeemable. Yeah, I mean, even if they are a total disaster, they'll get redeemed, right? I wear my socks night. I really do feel like there could be like a decent play like IWN. I don't know if IWN is liquid enough, but like something like IWN. Fuck that. Actually, you could just probably go like long Dow. You could probably go like long Dow, short Soxel. What's the decay like? Ooh, I built a thing for that. I think. Hold on. I don't know if it still works. Give me a second. I don't know. I think it might be turning around. Does not work on the 4 hour. Hmm. 1 second. Oh, this is the old one. Well, it kind of works. The decay is usually pretty rapid, but it's kind of turning around. Hmm. We've done this before. What? I wonder a guy wears shoes and no socks. What are the implications of this? Stinky shoes. I'm not really interested in agriculture right now. That's a whole. I'm definitely not interested in low cap penny stock in the agriculture space. That's a whole lot of volume. Yes, it is. Maybe I go long Soxel into earnings and then short Soxel, long IWM into the FOMC. FOMC's on Wednesday though. Fuck. I want to play this. I gotta think about it. I'm gonna have to think about it a lot more. Oil started to find like a little bit of a floor on Friday. I might get that turning around a little bit. Dollar's kind of been trying to bounce back. Uh, but hasn't. This'll probably pump or fail with the Fed decision on labor data this week. Still pushing core. It didn't do too well into close. Um, 40 yield on volatility is still positive. Interesting. All right. Hopefully, it should be a pretty volatile week. I feel like the goal this week's going to be to crush vol, right? Crush vol into the big data, and then if nothing comes of the data, short the fuck out of the event vol. That's always the plan for Todd. Yeah, I mean, we've got what? Jolts, FOMC, BOJ, all of it's this week. And I think of like we have ISM PMIs too. Like it's gonna be a pretty hectic week. Yeah, ISM PMI's on Thursday. Non-farms on Friday. We had a bit of normalization in Supercore last week, but I don't think it's significant enough to really move the Fed. We have German GDP and EU GDP flash reports on Tuesday. Those will be important. German inflation. There's still some risk there going on between like oats and buns. It's trimmed a bit, but the spreads are still pretty wide. We got Jolt's consumer confidence, Dallas Fed services. We got some industrial PMIs out of China, BOJ rate decisions before the Fed decision. That's going to be at midnight on Wednesday morning. Then we have EU inflation. No summary of economic predictions out of the Fed until September, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a busy week. I mean, I don't think the Fed's going to do anything, right? They're just going to keep rates flat. It seems really unlikely that they would cut prior to the labor data coming out. I think a cut for September is more possible. In terms of financials, it doesn't really have any debt yet. It has 3 times as many assets as its market cap, which is the main reason I mentioned it. There's a reason it's trading for less than the value of its assets. What is it? Is that a fresh cut and shave? Not at all. No, I haven't. I haven't done anything. I haven't taken care of me in months, Nick. BOJ is starting to move more normal monetary policy, depending on an improved economy. Well, their economy is not improving, but they might need to move to a more normal monetary policy anyway. I'm right here with you. We can take care of each other. Thanks, man. We'll just invite Dork over and he can take care of both of us. How much are you guys paying? I got dubs to buy. Why am I picturing grooming monkeys? Because you have a PG brain. No one else was thinking that. Speaking of Dork, how's your butt, man? I don't even have you on audio. Like you're talking about it, but hold on. There you
Oh,
go.
all right. Um, yeah, anyways, I will tell the doctor that I put it in my butt.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably your best choice.
Yeah. No, that's it's kind of the only choice at this point. I
Can you
mean,
believe that JFresh goes to movie theaters to watch movies?
wait, is that where he's at right now?
Yeah.
What is he, some sort of caveman?
He's at his local AMC supporting Adam Aaron.
Oh, geez. So he bought like a $10 tub of popcorn.
Probably went on Fandango too.
He probably did, and he probably used MapQuest to get to the movie theater because he forgot how to get there. He printed out the instructions and followed them.
He's never forgotten how to get there. He goes there every week.
That's true. Yeah. Does he wear his AMC shirt and a like a some sort of Bored Ape NFT hat?
It's like a Bored Ape NFT hat and a shirt that says "Apes Strong Together."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And does he like
Not
sticker
everybody
slap?
knows how to
Yeah.
jailbreak a Fire Stick. Yes, yes, they do.
Oh man,
It's a
I
kids
thought about coming
thing.
on. I thought about coming on blasting Jamiroquai, but I thought better of it. Although it was hard
Thanks.
to hear Dirk when he first came on because I was blasting it so loud. How are you doing, bud? I forgot to ask that.
But me?
Yeah,
I'm
you.
fucking I'm super tired, but we're in the last leg, right?
Yeah, dude,
So
it's been tiring for sure.
like as soon as we get all this shit done, I'll have finally have some time to work twice as hard.
Exactly. Well, last night I got an endpoint called Tickle My Butt, so I'm happy now.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. Um,
TMB.
yeah, but not even abbreviated, just straight up tickle slash my slash butt. And I'm like, fucking A, dude. This is peak tech.
I can't wait till we have to explain to HR our code base.
I only have one file named Booty Tickler, okay?
All right, fair enough. Can you turn Dork up a touch? I'm up
Am I
all the
quiet?
way. No, you're pretty loud. You're louder than me.
All right. I mean, I could shout, but I already have a decent public speaking voice. I know my mic isn't the best situation right now. I have a better mic sitting around, but then I have to go and do USB cable shit, and then life sucks. I really should
Oh,
just do this on my main desktop.
all my ticks are gone. What are you talking? Oh, you're the one with Lyme disease. Yeah, that sucks.
Wait, are we talking about Dave?
No, not Dave. Dave doesn't have Lyme disease. He got the Rocky Mountain tick thing. He's allergic to meat. Um, Sisyphus got Lyme disease. This is what you guys get for going outside. I don't feel bad for either of you. Well, I
I had
kind
a
of feel
question
bad
for
for
Dave.
Dave.
So I had a PP question for Dave. Whether or
About
not dudes should be peeing standing up or sitting down.
oh, like which one's better for you?
Exactly. Yeah. Like which one's better for your prostate and stuff.
Probably the squat piss, right? Like everything's better when you squat.
That's true. Yeah. Sisyphus, if you never went outside, then how did you get a tick? Are you living with what's his face?
Probably has dogs. Probably has an animal that brought. This is why you don't let your animals go outside either. My cat lives under my couch where there's no ticks.
Yeah, same. Cobra, what you need is those Peltors with an audio input, so you can just, use the noise canceling of them, but still have your stuff going through it. I've used those before. They're pretty nice.
It's better to squat so the bladder can fully empty. There you go.
Is he a registered doctor of medicine in particular with peeners?
I you mean a urologist?
Yes.
I don't I don't know. His name's G Square. It sounds official.
That's true. That is very true.
Couch ticks
So,
are silent and deadly.
God,
Lone Star, yeah, the Lone Star tick. Is that the
dude,
one that
you
gives you
remember?
the meat allergy? I don't even remember anymore.
I think it is.
I have a
Do you remember
severe
Zika virus?
paranoia of ticks. I won't go anywhere where there's like grass that goes higher than like the sole of my shoe.
Do you remember the Zika virus?
Vaguely, yeah.
That was such a thing back in the day. Did we just get rid of it? Did it just die?
It probably got
Or
like
do we
too
still
cold or something.
or did we just accept babies with tiny heads as the norm, and now all our babies are gonna have tiny heads? But yeah, it is, Jun. It's a like 80s Egypti based virus.
It only affected poor countries. That's true. Well, no, there were some like cases in Florida. right?
Yeah, there were cases in Florida, and there were also cases in California,
Really?
I believe, like in like
I
central
know, I know,
California.
I know dengue is kind of slowly moving its way up to the southern US.
Gotta love it. Oh yeah, swine flu. That was, or what was the one that caused the huge scare back in? What was it, 2007?
That was swine flu, I think.
That was crazy. Yeah, they fucking at my school one day. Like I wasn't even paying attention because I was like just in high school, and I remember one day came to school, and they're like, "Hey guys, everybody's gonna get this, nose fucking squirty thing for your vaccine for this flu," and I was like, "All right." I think that was when they got me with the 5G antenna back in 2007.
NW, it is pronounced dengue. It's it's like deng gay. I know. I just looked it up. Is that why you deleted your comment?
Look at us teaching people phonics. I love it. I thought they were supposed to read Hooked on Phonics as one of their like essential readings as
No,
well.
that's just Popcorn Trader. He's legitimately illiterate, so we've been. It's not been
You know,
easy, but he's
you
on
know
book 3 now.
if you do have a reading list that you share with people on the Discord, you really should put Hooked on Phonics into I know my one, two, threes at the top of the list.
There was like a book about critical thinking that I read in first grade, and I can't remember what it was called. But if I ever find that book, I'm definitely adding it to the reading list.
Well, there's some amazing critical thinking, like in logical things that I feel like a lot of people don't really ever consider in everyday life because they're so like I don't know, base level, right? Like where you never really consider something, but then when you really dig down, you're like, actually, that is a very good way of describing a lot of situations, right? Like kind of like when it's raining outside, it's cloudy, but if it's cloudy, doesn't necessarily mean it's raining outside.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff,
Hmm.
which goes way deeper than just clouds and rain. But I don't know how many people would understand that. But anyways, so I guess Jay Fresh isn't here to talk about his pool or his barfing puppy. So what should we talk about?
I don't know.
I found some dubs that I like.
Oh god.
So,
You're not
but
allowed to buy any dubs. We've already established this.
they're a rhinestone encrusted spinner.
So I mean, I think last week we got a pretty good idea that the consumer is coming back, um, largely on the back of that wealth bubble, and we're seeing more durable demand while PPI is higher, and that I think that led ultimately to our PCE being a little bit above expectations, which is obviously what I projected, contrary to the rest of the analysts. But this week's gonna be big. We've got the Treasury, like all the Treasury issuance shit coming out this week, right? We're gonna get the refunding announcement, and we're getting all the JOLTS data and the FOMC and BOJ. So it's gonna be pretty hectic.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Yellen at this point. I don't think there's any advantage in her continuing to issue short-term debt, and so we're probably going to see refunding drop, but also we're going to see maybe a shift to like bonds over bills, or at least the beginnings of a shift to bonds over bills.
I mean, at some point you have to do that, right? Like it's you can only shove so much short-term debt into the market and have it be willing to churn that for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, like reverse repos already pretty fucking low. Um,
Well, I mean, also when you consider that the 2 year over the past, what was it, like 2 weeks, has inverted the 20 and the 30.
yeah, yeah, it has.
Like that's I mean, no wonder RRP. Like it's and what's also interesting is that like we had like the 10 year dropping pretty precipitously as well. Um, but what I find more interesting is there's becoming a small divergence in the notes, like in the ultra short term stuff in terms of their yields. So
Yeah, the 3 and 6 month especially.
yeah,
The bond
exactly. Yeah,
markets, I mean, yeah,
weird.
the bond market's not really fully in agreement with Fed fund futures, right? Like Fed fund futures are betting we get zero point 0.7, almost 3 rate cuts by the end of Jan. Um, which, only gives us 5 months. And but like the 6 years staying at 5.13. So they're starting to price in a little bit of that. But that's only like this week, right? Like the 6 year was above 5.2. Yeah, prior to this week, we were still above 5.2.
Yeah, I guess the last bastion, right, is I mean, well the thing is that I don't think that the treasury market is necessarily like I mean, you never will be prepared for a big de-inversion, right? Like the 210 de-inverting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that they're trying to price that into Fed fund futures and just hope that the bond market starts to move that way over time. But I mean, pricing in so many rate cuts so quickly, right? And with Fed fund futures too. So people are actually putting money on this, sort of implies that at least some portion of the market is expecting either I mean, there's no real expectation other than a rapid economic downturn for rate cuts of that magnitude, and they're doing so in the face of GDP that surprised to the upside yet again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, GDP surprised to the upside, but the rest of the components look terrible. Like I don't think the GDP report this last week was good news for anybody.
All right, I turned off noise suppression. Maybe that'll make me sound better because Carl's complaining now, and I want to sound good for Barl.
That's true. Yeah, you don't want to borrow missing anything.
Exactly. It is very interesting. I mean, this level of dislocation. What's crazy about it is that it's just so persistent, right? I mean, we've been seriously dislocated between equities and bonds, and even from bonds to Fed fund futures for what, like a year and a half now.
Did they revise durable goods back down?
I forget. Can do do they separate consumer durables from that?
No, that's the total one. They do. There's like durable goods like X defense, X air, X everything.
Yeah, durable X transportation, X defense would be interesting to see because that would kind of tell you because a lot of durables that consumers purchase, if you exclude cars, right, we're talking ovens, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and if those are going down, that sort of implies that, you know, at the very, like at the microeconomic level, people may be considering foregoing, upgrades to their, appliances and things like that, which are decent big ticket items for most people.
I still don't think we're seeing that. I mean, like durable goods X transportation was up. Durable goods X air or like non-defense durables X air was up, right? We're still seeing income decline against consumer spending, right? So personal income was down month over month by like half, and then personal spending was elevated but down over the prior month, but still rising at a significantly faster rate than personal income. But I still think we're seeing like the better, like the more well off portion of the population um as a larger purchaser of durables. And I
Hmm.
think I actually have a chart for that here.
You got so many charts. I was looking at some of these. These are pretty cool. I
Yeah,
like some of
yeah,
them.
you can talk about this one for a second. I gotta go answer my door.
Don't forget to tell them that you already follow the Church of Latter-day Saints.
I will.
Short though. Ah, top tercile of stock holdings. uh, I mean, when your stocks are going up, you're feeling pretty good. I mean, what else is there to it? If you don't own any stocks and you see stocks going up, but your pay isn't going up, you're not feeling so hot. I mean, that's a micro way to see this. So, do we see breadth slowing down? What do you mean? Like the thrust into breadth? Like so basically IWM going up? I don't necessarily think that was a thrust into breadth. Um, so generally, if the market wants to price in like a recession, or not even a recession, but an economic dip, right? Those tend to favor smaller companies with more reasonable valuations, right? People are looking for value over growth. So what you would expect to see in that sort of a pricing scenario is like a steady increase in the valuations of small cap companies. And what we saw recently was IWM just dick rocketed up over the course of a few days, and that was it, right? That wasn't necessarily people getting super bullish on small caps. So what remains to be seen though is if IWM find support up at these levels, then we may actually be seeing sentiment shift into these smaller cap stocks if the indexes continue to show weakness over the medium term. So, interesting question, but possibly we might be seeing breadth start to show up, but we really have to ask ourselves: is it for the good reasons or for the bad reasons? And with the Girk shared another chart.
Oh,
Uh,
do I need to pull up a different one?
yeah, the earnings beat rate chart that you got, the
Oh,
blue and
yeah.
gold. So if you look at this guy, right, kind of tells you if breadth returns to the market and we see the valuations of ultra large cap stocks continue to sort of decline, then it's likely we're pricing in an economic downturn rather than just a rising tides raise all ships sort of thing. It all depends on how earnings continue going forward. Once again, in the medium term, like 6 months to a year. So we'll see. We'll see. I think we need to see if IWM holds these prices. I mean, if it falls back below, 215 and into like the 210 range, then we're probably not going to see breadth, and if anything, we're going to see SPX go vertical. But if we don't see that, we see a lot of support on IWM and more flat price action from SPX, then it's likely we are getting a shift into small cap stocks.
I was
We're
actually
right in.
surprised that like equity fund flow for this last week was still positive despite the drop. Um, I don't know if you saw this chart, the weekly fund flows.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, didn't turn negative like we did in April, right? Or still haven't turned negative yet, right? I think a lot of people are still trying to ride that rate cut train into IWM, and I think the only thing that's going to kill that is going to be um, if the Fed doesn't cut, right? Or if the Fed's pretty clear about having no intention to cut.
Or if we have a financial accident and everything becomes correlated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true
But
too.
that's the black swan event. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, your outcomes are much more likely than a black swan event,
So something else that
especially in
was
the medium
pretty interesting is we saw a little bit of a bump in home sales, which seasonally we should be at like the peak for the year, and instead we're kind of at the low for the trailing 12 months, right? Home sales have been hurting a bit, but not much. And this is kind of interesting in that sellers are slashing prices for at the highest rate on record. So this is like number of homes listed where prices have been cut, and
Yeah,
I
but
thought that was
we need to see volumes on that too, right? I mean, this is interesting, but the distortion here, right, is since 2022, home volumes have just been in the gutter.
have they?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, new home sales and existing home sales haven't been that bad. They've they've been pretty elevated. Like we could go to Fred, right?
So seeing new home listings with price cuts, that'll be an interesting metric because then that's people like Lennar and DR Horton thinking that they're not going to be able to sell these homes for what they think. Yeah, go to the average sales price for new homes listed in the U.S. Is that a thing? Or I guess it'd be sold.
Sold. Yeah, we have that.
They only have sold. That's probably not going to be too. It's going to be pretty ambiguous. Yeah. So
I want housing volume.
yeah, that's the one that I think would be a big tell, right? If volume starts picking up with these price cuts, then we know that it's not only the people are trying to entice new buyers, but they're getting impatient enough that they're lowering prices to actually sell.
There we go. Housing inventory.
Perfect.
It's been trending up since 2022.
Yeah, but not back to the pre-pandemic trend though.
Well, this doesn't go back that far, but yeah, I mean that was trending down anyway,
Yeah, sort
like
of,
from
yeah.
2017.
Well, in 2018, the Fed raised rates by like what, like 1%, then all the banks almost exploded, so they cut rates again.
Oh, this really does. None of these data sets go back very far. It's almost like they don't want us to see the historic levels.
I know, right? Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, housing inventory has been picking up, and we have nothing again, nothing back below before 2022. That's fucking annoying. 10
Yeah,
year,
I mean, the
three
only things
month,
they have,
forever negative. I don't know why you fixated on the most irrelevant spread in the bond market, but
dude, yeah, bro, seriously, like the 30-year 3-month spread is like, it is everything, bro.
I mean, no one gives a shit about anything but the 10 too,
Yeah, I mean, the
for the most part.
two
Or
is
the like
used for,
3, or like the 3 month, 5 year.
yeah, well, the two is primarily used for, durable goods financing, and the 10 years used for mortgage financing. So that's why they're both so huge, right? They're part of all the modeling that the banks use to figure out what rate to give you for your mortgage
Yeah.
or your car.
Oh, also, hedge funds are longing the dollar at a pretty rapid rate, which means that a significant chunk of hedge funds are betting that the Fed doesn't cut.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And then we've got this one's kind of fun. Correlation between SPX and SPW, like the equal weight index, is at 36% at the end of this week.
So it's very much not correlated now.
Yeah.
If it's below
It's
50%, it's
usually
not.
around like 99, right?
As it should be, yeah.
Yeah. And this is like the 13, like rolling 13-week correlation.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's crazy that it became decorrelated in that regard then, because that's like a
Yep.
quarterly measure. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, shit.
Well, it looks like you got some fun charts you posted too.
I just posted a few.
And we talk about
Top one,
steepeners. JFresh isn't here, so it's not
yeah,
as
we could
much
talk about it a
fun.
bit. I just wanted to point out, there's some similarities to the last time the yield curve sort of did this. It looks pretty much the same, although the 2 years dropping faster than the rest, which didn't really happen last time the yield curve started to steepen,
Hmm.
which I found interesting. And we also see this market divergence in the short-term spread between the 3 month and the 6 month. We touched on that. But what this chart does is it shows you a comparison of the yield to maturity of the treasuries and the compounded annualized growth rate of inflation. So that's kind of what you're looking at here to kind of tell you, hey, is debt more valuable than, you know, basically just buying shit and sticking it under your mattress? And it's still currently not quite like, do you want to leverage into shit or you just want to buy it with cash is what this really kind of tells you. And right now, you don't really want to leverage into shit. You kind of just want to sit on cash.
Yeah.
Uh, so what this really is trying to illustrate, so there's some things in this chart, like there's a reason why I watch it. It only updates, on the daily interval. But the things that I look out for on this are those two bottom purple and magenta lines. If you see those go above the green and pink ones, that's when we start getting into a bear steepener case. And generally speaking, before there's some sort of, tightening of financial conditions in the short term, you do see a bear steepener happen on the long end.
Yeah.
So, that's really why I watched this. There were a couple points where we got pretty close, as you could see back in April. We got pretty close to one of those. But we didn't quite get there. And when it starts to happen, right, you see this reaction across the entire Treasury market where, certain yields get, a little wonky and volatility starts picking up because their spreads are collapsing.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep an eye on this. But the divergence in short-term spreads does tell you that there is starting to be a little bit of agreement in there being rate cuts in the next 6 months, but I, you know, I would want to see more data before I would conclude that that is definitely the case. These
Here,
could
I'm gonna
easily bounce back.
pull up your USD JPY chart, and then we
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
into the BOJ decision this week. I gotta answer the door again, so one sec.
Tell them to fuck off. So yeah, and this kind of brings a full circle as to why we might start seeing conditions tighten and spread starts to go down further. We saw the USD JPY dollar spread, which is basically taking the dollar index to a bunch of currencies and then taking the yen valued in dollars and finding the spread between them so that you can denoise all the other currency spreads. It's not perfect. Girk has pointed out other things I could use, other instruments to make this a little better. But what we see is we see a bounce back in the spread back towards neutral and a pretty significant one. Not unprecedented, obviously, but this does show that there is less reticence to crush the yen in relation to the dollar. And that red line that you see there was the lowest point on this spread achieved back in 2007, before everything went haywire. So you can see we're right in that same sort of range, where we may be running into some sort of limiting factor. And at this point, it's there's not really much of a limiting factor, like like a mechanical one, but it's definitely a regulatory limiting factor. Like, how far does the Bank of Japan want to allow their currency to fall relative to the dollar before their import prices get too expensive and they basically engineer their own sort of stagflationary recession. So that's kind of what this sort of illustrates. Whether that bounce was intervention or not, I mean, I don't want to speculate. I haven't really been digging around for articles on it, but the yen has been dropping precipitously in relation to the dollar, so it could possibly be intervention. There's just there's no real definitive way to tell unless you guys have articles to show me, and then I can be like, yep, they intervened. So we don't know that though. The more interesting outcome isn't that they intervened, but perhaps that people were exiting the carry trade, or at least deleveraging their risk from the carry trade, perhaps hedging the carry trade, things like that could cause this kind of a bounce. If that's the case, if you're seeing hedging of the carry trade, we'll probably see it flatten out. This light blue line will probably start flattening out. We'll see markets recover, all the fun stuff that you see during a bull market. Uh, but yeah, remains to be seen how this is going to play out too. And you obviously need more data. If we get another couple of weeks of this moving up like it has been, then we're probably going to see some interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, Japan's widely expected this month to make a decision on their bond repurchases. They're supposed to cut them off, right? That's what they leaked. That's what they've been saying they're gonna do. They've been announcing it for like over a month and a half now. Um, and that is going to push yields up on the JP10, the 10 year, which has been just flat as fuck at 1%. Um, it'll be interesting because that's like the last facet of YCC that's really still in place. Um, and that could start to push a bigger move in kind of the narrowing of the carry trade that we've been seeing like over the last week, right? What is still an unknown is if they're going to cut rates. I don't think they're in a position to do that yet. Um,
Japan,
yeah, to cut rates again.
uh, re-implement YCC back to I don't know 0.5 or something.
Well, no, but their CPI is estimated to move up, but it hasn't been moving up fast enough. But they're cutting off their bond purchases from the central bank, right? So Japan's still one of the big buyers of Japanese bonds, and that's partially keeps their yields locked in, right? But the BOJ this week is supposed to cut that off, which means that it'll be up to the individual participants in the carry trade to keep Japanese bond yields suppressed.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So it'll definitely be a little bit more pressure on that trade. I don't know if it'll be enough to kind of break things, but I also like the thing that would actually break things would be Japan raising rates. But I don't think they can because I don't think their inflation's pushed up enough yet.
Yeah, and that's what I was mentioning with the chart I had was it's hard to tell at this point if people are actually deleveraging the carry trade or if they're just hedging it, right? It could just be hedging, just
Yeah,
in the
it,
event
it
they just
feels
stop
it
the
feels like
repurchase.
hedging, and that worries me for SPX and like long vol, right? Because if they are just hedging it, and nothing really comes of the BOJ meeting, they're gonna leverage into that shit hard as fuck the second they can, right?
I mean, yeah, they may, but I don't know if it'll be necessarily to the same degree that they have in the past because if the BOJ is not there to step in and, make sure that they keep getting competitive rates, then they may be more reticent to just freely allow that money to flow. So we will probably get a recovery in my mind, but it'll definitely be muted compared to what we saw in 23 and most of 24.
So I have a buddy who's an FX guy who pointed out that he thinks that they're modulating the trade in order to keep the BOJ from doing anything by allowing the yen to rise as the meeting approaches. It's less likely that the BOJ will take an aggressive stance and raise rates.
Hey, wait a minute. That
especially
would be market manipulation and collusion.
yeah. But
No moral hazard to see,
they're
folks.
FX markets. There's no centralized exchange.
Right, yeah, and there's no such thing as a concerted effort to manipulate the pricing of various assets.
Yeah, the IMF totally wouldn't ever manipulate anybody's currency, Dork.
Yeah, that's just poppycock. I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Yeah,
I even mentioned it. It's just totally out of this world.
exactly.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
that's a
it,
possibility. I mean, the yen is out of the range where intervention would really occur, almost right. 156. And definitely way back down from its like 160 161 level. But that means there's still a lot of room to push this if the dollar rises, which your hedge funds are betting it will. Um,
so here's an interesting thing I was thinking of, Gherkin. Tell me what you think of this, okay?
sure.
And this is just going to be a thought experiment, all right?
Okay.
So imagine something happens, right? I don't know what. Let's just say OpenAI files chapter, okay?
Okay.
And and that makes regular people, it spooks them and they start selling all their shit, like all their tech shit, okay?
Okay.
That money that they have to that they are going to be given for their shares has to come from somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So in the event of a large sell-off and a recompensation of investors in cash in large quantities, would that or would that not disrupt the flows of these carry trades negatively?
Mm,
Like we're talking like 150 billion, 250 billion dollar essentially cash injection into these portfolios.
well, first of all, I think you're greatly overestimating the amount of like individual securities investors own, right? Most people are like long Nvidia, but it's kind of in association with their like mutual fund purchases and stuff and ETF purchases, and not because they're directly long Nvidia, right?
Right, but I don't even mean Nvidia necessarily. I just mean like
Well,
people are saying
any
it's
of the
futures
Mag
here.
7, right? Any of the big mega cap tech that would be sold off because of its gross overvaluation. I still think that like you know individual investors don't aren't feeling the negative impact of the decline in price of those assets as rapidly because they have all of those assets packaged with a bundle of other assets, right? So, for most investors, as breadth rises, right, and large like mega caps fall, like the direct effect on them is minimal. Like, yeah, they're like down on the month or whatever, and it's not great, but they're in mutual funds that are shielded from those initial declines. Now, if those declines became correlated, that's when you would get panic, right?
But I just mean, the thought experiment is primarily about a large increase in volume, right? It doesn't matter necessarily where it originates from, but when volume, you know, in the market, especially to one side comes in, I feel like that would disrupt the cash flows in the financial system because now you have a large debit on your books to be able to give these people, at least at the brokerage level, but
It's kind of a
there's a large
well.
debit on your books to give them cash.
See, no, because brokerages are custodial, right? They don't act the way a bank does. Like they don't. They're not using your money somewhere else. Your money's just sitting in your account.
Right, but
Um,
before it's sitting in your account, it's in shares, right? And then you sell those shares, and then they put money in your account.
okay. So you're talking about like a cash drawdown on brokerages,
I mean, yeah, just a huge, yeah,
but
exactly, a large cash
the money
drawdown.
for that's coming from whoever buys your share when you sell it. Like your
Right,
brokerage, I mean, you're sure the brokerage will be responsible for buying some amount of shares, right? Because they'll want to maintain inventory. But like, I mean,
Right.
largely the cash inflows are going to come out of the market itself, right?
Yeah, the market makers, right? So once that happens, and those market makers, in order to ensure a stable and liquid market, go and fucking buy all your shares, which is the transfer of cash, right?
Yeah.
When they go and do that, right? If it's a large amount of cash that needs to be used to buy these shares, right? That would disrupt the global flow of money,
I
and we
feel
would
like it would just
probably
increase
see.
I mean, it would increase velocity, but there's no like margin risk unless so that's like a pair trade, right? Like they're trading cash for equivalent value asset, right?
Right.
But then like you would either need cash to rise or asset value to drop after that occurred for there to be like a direct impact on leverage.
Okay, I think I
I
see
think
what you're
I think
saying.
we discussed this briefly once before, but I don't remember if we really got into it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't.
if
Yeah.
the MMs move like from cash to assets more heavily, right? And then the value of assets declines, then yeah, that would impact leverage. But otherwise, they're going to be relatively equivalent, right?
I mean, but wouldn't their risk profile expand?
Not necessarily. I mean, cash has risk too.
But it's way lower than equity risk.
Sometimes.
I mean, yeah, but and that's the thing, right? Like, and that's where I think that's where my thought experiment sort of hits the end game, right? Is where that relative risk between cash and equities sort of intersects, right? So if you have a huge sell-off, right? Let's just say makers need to go and buy $300 billion worth of equities because everyone's selling their fucking SPY shares or whatever. Who gives a
Yeah.
shit, right? So if they need to drum up $300 billion, I don't think a lot of them have gigantic hordes of cash sitting around like that. I mean, some of them do, but for people like JPM and stuff, I mean, I don't know if they could necessarily just foot that bill with all the cash reserves they have on hand. And if they even could, right, those cash reserves are not just cash reserves. They're sitting in some sort of crazy fucking round robin shit of junk bonds, being collateralized
Well,
at
they have
treasuries, blah,
reserves
blah,
on
blah.
balance at the Fed also. Don't forget about those reserves.
So you think the Fed would step into the open market to facilitate these cash withdrawals?
I mean, they'll step into the Treasury will step into the Treasury market to ensure liquidity.
Right, but then that would mean total leverage in the system would increase dramatically.
Yeah.
So we would, okay, this is okay. All in all, it would be spicy, and I guess the ultimate end effect would be that these market makers would demand more premium for risk, and basically
Yeah.
VIX would go up.
You've got tighter financial conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. Okay, that was fun. I had fun with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a fun little discussion. I miss those discussions we used to have back in the day where we would just talk about,
I just
thought
you mean
experiments.
we would toggle you mean toggling the slider on option strat at 3 in the morning?
Yeah, we'd be like, dude, what if everything exploded? And then we just go from there.
When
I
yen
don't,
calls print, it's been since Feb. I mean, it's trending the right way, but probably still a long time. That's
yeah,
like stuff like that can take. I mean, it's going to take a very, very long time to be realized. But it's also, like something that has to be realized over time. So anytime you run into like a mechanical situation like that, even with like merger arbitrage, right, where there's like a guaranteed return, it tends to take forever for that to actually be realized.
yeah, or it just it gets realized all at once because we have a financial crisis.
Yeah, no, that's true. Hasn't this been
So,
a
I mean,
profitable thing for Japan? Why would they raise rates? Because they have a currency risk. So it's profitable for, Japanese banks, right? and for the time being. But if that risk increases, right, then they're on the hook for going out and making those margin calls until those margin calls are like answered. The risk is absorbed by those banks.
Yeah, it's yeah. You have to ask yourself who it's profitable for, right? That's the big kicker.
Someone asked me a question about why would tech go up, but I can't find it.
Why would tech go up? Uh,
If the Fed doesn't cut rates,
Pretty much.
I think that was the question, but I wanted to make sure.
I think so.
I don't see it. It's full bladder.
What is a cloud?
Was it a children's book? Are we bullish into next week? Or is tech gonna have awful earnings? Yeah, so actually we could touch on that. We've been talking for a long time about, how as we move into the second half of 2024, tech earnings are going to decline. And we've already seen a bit of that with Google kind of not hitting their projections and guiding down, and Tesla missing really hard. Although Tesla's a really big piece of shit, and I wouldn't bet the rest of the Mag 7 on the back of simply their earnings. Why does tech go up if the Fed does not cut? Okay, that was the question. I found it. Um, so tech would go up if the Fed doesn't cut because people are going to leverage back up, right? Dollar's going to stay strong. Yields are going to move back up, and that is going to allow more leverage to be pushed into the carry trade, where vol is that drives a lot of volatility shorting, or at least the leverage on volatility shorting is highly correlated with that very specific currency pair, and that pushing vol down on the indexes is going to push vol up on tech. And tech's fallen. I mean, QQQ and Q have fallen about 10% relative to the SPX's 5% drop. So they've got a lot of room to move up right now, back to the prior levels. Not to mention, multinational mega conglomerates benefit from a stronger dollar quite a lot. So, if you're making $38 billion a quarter and the dollar goes up 2%, you're making 2% more on top of your revenues just purely on the currency spread. So if we see US no cut scenario, then does a BOJ cut on a later BOJ meeting move higher? Hike? Yeah, it's a good chance that the BOJ would be pushed back into a position where the yen is again at risk, which I mean it still is. 157 is not 157, 158 is not a like even like 150. This is not a good range for the yen to be in, right? And so yeah, I mean, it's very possible that the yen would move, right back down again against the dollar, and put the BOJ back in a position where, a hike would be necessary to ensure the stability of their currency. That's why we were kind of speculating that like a lot of this may just be leading into the decision, right? Like pulling risk back going into the BOJ decision, and if the BOJ decision's kind of nothing, they're gonna leverage right back into that trade. And that's something that I talked about a bunch earlier this year, right? Is that the Fed is likely to stay. I was pretty much on the Fed is going to stay higher for longer ever since like Jan when we first, or like even November when we first started like pricing in all these rate cuts, and they have so far, right? And because of the carry trade, that meant that we were going to kind of oscillate from like tightening financial conditions to looser financial conditions back and forth. And in doing that, that allows the Fed allows all of our underwater banks to slowly roll off those hold to maturity assets, right? So as financial conditions become tighter, they can take profit out of equity, right? And then they can roll those profits over to their hold to maturity stuff, and then roll that balance sheet off a little bit at a time. Things loosen back up again, equities spike, they go long equities. Then when financial conditions start to tighten again on a rise, and so you create the wealth effect, push inflation up, push profits up, then the wealth effect kind of trims down, inflation falls, financial conditions tighten, right? And then you roll off your bonds, and then you push the wealth effect again, and you just keep doing that over and over. And if we can do that for like 2 or 3 years, eventually our banks could kind of walk themselves out of the shitty hole they're in.
Yeah, and that was something I kind of took advantage of with my house purchase was I picked a period in which, inflation expectations were way down and, people were talking about cuts like crazy. And I was like, you know what? This is all extremely optimistic. I'm sure I'm going to get a really competitive rate. And then I did.
Yep.
Because exactly what you were describing is the cycle, right? And then I got it. And then I think the same day I got my mortgage underwritten was like the same day that the inflation print came out hotter than expected.
In Jan,
Yeah.
like for the Jan, I remember that.
It was crazy, dude. Yeah. And the lady was like, "Don't worry, we got you locked in." I was like, "Fucking A." Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Now you
Um,
just need to sell your house for 60K more. Like you should just list it for 60K more than you bought it for.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I think I'm kind of happy with where I'm living right now, and I don't want to add more turmoil into my life.
All right, fair enough.
Even for 60 grand, I don't know if it's worth 60 grand to turn my life ass over tea kettle.
You could try 100.
Okay, now we're talking something a little more tempting,
I mean,
but still,
you're probably not gonna get a buyer, but you might.
I don't think I'm gonna get a buyer. I don't even think I would get an agent that would be willing to list for me at that price. They'd be like, "Are you fucking
Yes,
stupid?" And I'd be
money.
like, "Yes."
You just gotta wait for that next period where financial conditions loosen a bit, right? And everyone's bidding 40 grand over asking to buy a house.
Or I wait for something really bad to happen in the economy, and then I refinance after
No
six
one's
months
gonna,
of
no
attempting to
one's gonna, okay,
refinance.
no one's gonna refinance you after something bad happens in the economy for years, and you know that.
The federal government will subsidize my refinance. All right, it's fine. Money printer go burr. We're good, bro.
we gotta get all the homeowners on the same page at 3% interest.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's how you fix the economy, dude.
It sounds terrible. That's how you
It's
drive
genius and you
inflation
know it.
through the roof.
It's genius and you know it.
You
Okay,
know
I
full
didn't.
well you're
I'm
not
not the
getting a
one.
refinance on that fucking loan.
I'm not the one who created the system in which we need these crazy boom bust cycles. I am merely gaming it. Okay.
Yeah. If you were gaming it, you'd list your house for 100K over purchase right now.
It's too late for that, my friend. All right. It is too late for that. I am not that stage. That stage is past. It's done. And at this point, I'm playing the rates game.
All right.
So either rates go up from here, and I'm happy because
You have
at least
to
I got a
don't
decent
forget you have to
rate.
repay your closing costs
I have to repay them.
if you refinance. You're gonna have to pay
Oh, you're
closing costs
right.
again. Yeah.
Fucking disgusting.
So your savings has to be greater than the cost of your closing costs at a minimum.
Ooh, I guess I have to hold off on getting those dubs, huh?
Yep.
Sucks. That's too bad. I thought it would just be like, hey, I can refinance, and they just refinance it, and
It's
then I
worth
don't even
60
buy anything.
grand. Try it. That's what I'm trying to tell him. But he's not listening.
Well, I have
He's
to pay a fucking real estate agent to do that.
What?
To list the fucking house. I don't have a goddamn real estate license.
You can just sell your own house.
I guess.
Just put it for sale by owner. Just put a sign in
Yeah,
your
that'll
yard.
go great. I'll just make a Craigslist ad.
Why would you even want Dubs? Because Dork's poor. He's got poor mindset. He's got perfectly acceptable steel rims right now, but he wants them to be shiny aluminum and prone to bending.
You know, it's really just that they're those ones that need the hubcaps, but with no hubcaps. That's why I don't like them. They're all rusty and just look bad. I'd love some OEMs that look nice, but they're fucking expensive, dude.
Yeah, yeah, rims
They're
aren't
like
cheap.
they're like $1,600 for some fucking OEM rims. I'm like, what the fuck,
Alternatively,
dude?
don't worry about the rims on your fucking used Mazda 3.
I know. It's a tiny little thing. That's why I'm not
You don't live
feeling
in the
it.
ghetto anymore. No one's gonna think you're a drug dealer because you have nice rims.
No, well, that was the thing is when I was living in the ghetto, I was worried that people would fucking pull over my car and put it on cinder blocks if I had nice wheels. But I also didn't have enough money for them. So
And
back then I had
now that you're
no
out
money.
of the ghetto, you feel like you can have nice wheels.
Not necessarily. I just feel it's more that I'm at a place in my life where I have a little more money sitting around. So I'm like, I guess I could afford to do that, but it's a big
What
step
do
backwards if I do.
It's like you've learned nothing in your 3 years here. What do we do with money we have sitting around?
Blow it all on zero DTEs.
Very good.
Yay! Yeah, no, so to put it in perspective, uh, just a little insane. You know, like my savings rate after all my costs and stuff is like maybe $600 a month. What do you want me to do with that?
I don't know. Sell
That's how
covered
fucking
calls.
that's how poor I am.
Sell covered calls. Pick up an extra 3% yield a month.
Yeah, so oh what, make like $8 a month?
It compounds, you ass.
So that $8 over the course of 2 years will turn into $36.
No. If you're
No, I
compounding
know.
at 3% a month, what are you talking about?
Okay, let's do the calculator. Let's do the calculator on
Fine.
this with such a tiny amount of money. Oh, it's gonna be great. Let's see. Interest calculator. And now let's go. Okay, so we're talking about initial investment. Let's just say it's, I don't know, I could probably do $1,800. Okay. Monthly contribution, let's say,
600.
that's a lot.
That's what you said. You said 600.
All right, fine. So let's just say I put all my savings just straight into selling covered calls like a moron. All right,
Yeah.
length of time in years. Let's do 4 years. Okay.
Okay.
Estimated interest rate, 3%.
You're doing
Okay.
3% annualized, not 3%
Oh,
a month.
so we'll do, okay. So I just switched the compound frequency to monthly. Time per year the interest will be compounded. We'll go 3, and we'll go calculate. So 4 years, 18. Oh, so in a year I will have 10x my money.
Yeah.
Ew.
You were saying?
That's a year, dude. My total contributions though are gonna be so the actual gain out of that isn't just total contributions is $150. So it's literally just a savings account. By year 4, I will have made 2.5 grand off of my contributions. So garbage, pure trash, over 4 years. Now, if we change this to 15 years and we run this one, then we start seeing a little divergence, right? After 15 years, I'll have made about $30,000 off of my contributions.
I think you're calculating it wrong.
I think it is still annualizing my interest
Yeah,
rate.
it's still
So,
annualizing your interest rate.
God damn it. So I have to do like, what is it, like 3 times, what is it? Fuck, or no, it's 0.03 raised to the 1. No, god damn it, I forget what it is.
It's
The
1
fucking
plus 0.03 raised to the 1.
thank you. Raised, but it's raised to the 12th.
So if you started with $600, 3% compounding monthly, with an additional deposit of $600 a month, you would hit 21,839 in 24 months.
Yeah, I guess it would only take like a year and a half. What if my initial contribution is less? So in 15 years, I'll have $9 million. Not bad.
Where are you getting those guaranteed 3% a month? That's my secret.
That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, GoEV CSPs are 20% for 30 days.
That is true. GoEV
That's way
CSPs are
better than
attractive.
3%.
Yeah, the GoEV CSPs are very attractive. But I hate selling puts on shit stocks.
Just go riskier options and make a higher yield. Ignore the Kelly criterion. Yeah, right? It's only risky if you get assigned.
It's true. What if I just don't contribute at all?
No
Ooh, way
contributions?
worse.
$600 would turn into like $1,200 in 24 months.
But
But
what about
that's at
okay?
3% a month, which you could definitely beat.
I guess I could.
You have all of the data and you use none of it. You just scalp gamma on SPX and then use it to buy dinner.
Hey now,
You're like,
this
oop, I
shouldn't
made
get any
$30 on my $300. Time to withdraw my profits.
Did you like that trade the other day when I bought that one DTE super far out of the money call and made money on it?
Here you go. ASTS 8-2 expiration covered calls are 1.5% return on investment per day.
Oh, that definitely couldn't go tits up.
They're out the money. That's the $19 strike.
Ugh.
What's the spread on that? Oh, sorry. So ASTS August 2nd, sell the 19, sell the 1950, buy the 20. Or sell the 19, buy the 1950. That's $40 credit on $50 margin.
Oh, I'm not turning my $1,500 portfolio into a margin account. Oh,
That's,
that
well, you
sounds
can't. You
awful.
have to have 2,000. It's FINRA.
Yeah, even worse.
That's a 80% return on collateral if if it doesn't go in the money.
Look, how about instead I just
For
sell FUBO
5
and GoEV
DTE.
puts?
I
I'm
mean
gonna pull port.
those are amazing too, right?
They actually are.
But
Every
you have
time
to
I've sold
cash
FUBO puts,
secure
I've been
them
happy.
so you lose leverage. But yeah, they are really good. I
I mean, who
mean,
cares about the leverage if that's, if that's yielding you what it is?
I've done it twice now, profitably. I haven't closed them like at expiry. Like I haven't had them just expire, but I've just closed them when I was up like 60%.
Well, the cool thing about selling puts, right, is that there's no real benefit to, well, there's, so, I don't know. I was reading some stuff, right? And people were like mathematically proving that early exercise of calls is almost never worth it. But early exercise of puts can be worth it in a decent amount of situations,
Yeah.
right? So that was kind of like my worry with it for a while. But I was like, that's why there's a premium on them. So I don't know. I should just
I
use the data more often and then sell some puts on some cheap shit and call it a day.
I mean, if you sold August 16 $2 P on GoEV, you're profitable at any price down to $1.76. $1.76 is a 3% yield. If it closes above your strike, you make 15%. It's $30 credit on $200 collateral.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah,
Well,
look at this shit.
get ready for me to start asking you questions about, are my Fubo short puts safe? Are my GoEV short puts safe? Why is GoEV going down? Yeah, that's stupid. I love it.
Would you talk a bit about the uranium trade? Down at the moment, despite higher taxation on the uranium sales in Kazakhstan and instability in Niger. Um, that's not the only reason it's down. It's also down because China's economy isn't recovering at the rate people expected, and there's going to be a slowdown in their like the rollout of their nuclear program. Also, Germany pulled back a bunch of their planned reactor rollout. I think France pulled back some of theirs, and then so the trade is kind of relying on the U.S. to increase the number of reactors that we plan to build out in the next like 10 to 15 years. You could probably just short strangle it, right? Like you could just do like sell a put, sell the secured put, and then you could sell the call by the 250. It's not much of an improvement, but it's a little bit. Less likely to be profitable, but you expand your range of profitability quite a bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, if it stays like at $2, you make a 25% yield. Are you giving away my investment strat? I
Oh,
mean,
there's Dave.
I just don't know why people. Oh yeah, Dave, is it better to pee standing up or sitting down?
This was bothering me last night. I was thinking about it as I was peeing. I was like,
Did you cut
I
off the
don't,
flow and then like sit down halfway through peeing?
no, I don't cut off the flow. It stings. Yeah, this is an important question, Dave. We're stopping everything until we know. Do you pee sitting down, or do you pee sitting down or standing up? Is the real question.
Oh well, hold on, hold on. We don't want to take his own personal bias into this.
It was true, but he knows, right? For
Do you
for
ever
his
get
long
your
term health.
does yeah, but when you sit down to pee, sometimes your penis touches the toilet.
Okay, well, dude. Okay, some of us don't rock giant hogs, Girk. Okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I'm not saying like you have to go fucking fishing, right? But like,
Like, should I just dip my ween into the water and then pee?
I don't know. Is that going to create some back pressure?
I don't know. Yeah, the hydrostatic pressure on the tip. Like, is that a thing?
Could be. What if your penis explodes?
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. Uh, yeah, you know what? I might be bullish on uranium uh, over the next like few weeks. I could see it going up.
I'm not. I'm
Didn't
not.
didn't Hezbollah just like shoot a bunch of rockets at like little kids in a playground
Yeah,
in Israel?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that could cause a little bit of interesting stuff just in the Middle East world.
Yeah, I think the Ukraine situation's far more impactful to the price of uranium right now. I know SRF's been trading at a pretty nice discount to NAV lately,
Hmm.
but China's still a big issue there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, well, the thing about the Middle East though, right, is if Israel decides to strike back at Hezbollah in force, I feel like that could start to drag Iran into this whole fucking regional thing in a bigger role.
Yeah, yeah, Iran's a big producer of uranium.
They are.
Although I feel like after the last like show of force by Iran, they have no intention of going after Israel. You know, remember when they just shot a bunch of rockets and they all just got taken out?
Yeah, but that was, I mean, was it really like, was that anything more than saber rattling?
I mean, does Iran have anything more than that?
I mean, I don't know about Iran, but I know Hezbollah, they've been sharing like drone videos of, the Iron Dome rocket sites and stuff and things like that. So they clearly have knowledge of Israel's, strengths and weaknesses, and perhaps they have the armaments to be able to bypass them. But it's kind of hard to tell.
Women everywhere would appreciate it if you would start sitting down. I can't understand how none of you seem to find the inside of the bowl. Like, why all over the floor and the sides of the toilet? Okay, listen, that's not most guys, that's just some guys. Okay,
Yeah,
I think I can
seriously.
speak for men here and say that the majority of us piss inside the toilet bowl and are constantly bewildered by how somebody is pissed on the wall, floor, sink, side of the toilet, under the toilet. Like, some of those positions really take quite a lot of work.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you do hit like, oh, whoopsies, got a little splash. I mean, you bust out a little bit of teepee and wipe it up and call it a day. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like, it's not that hard to just keep keep the toilet clean.
that's not most guys. Exactly what Girk just said. Exactly. Yeah, some of these
Yeah.
guys, and I don't understand it, but there's definitely men going in bathrooms and just pissing on everything. I don't know who they are. I don't know if it's because they're drunk, but that's not the majority. That's just one guy has pissed all over everything, and everyone else has to live with it.
That's like the same guy who doesn't flush the toilet with all his poo and teepee still in it at the airport. It's
Wait,
just the
hold
same
on.
piece of shit.
Is she throwing her husband, Jim Martain, under the bus? Sounds like I picked a winner. We found him, guys.
uh,
Women's are nicer on average. If they're bad, they can be so much worse. Yeah, I mean, women's bathrooms have some terrible shit going on too.
so I had a funny conversation back in high school. So, I was a bit of a theater nerd, and the lighting designer, super gay dude, was hanging out with his gal pals, and I was just sitting there hanging out with him, and he was like, "Why do all women's bathrooms smell like shit? Like, because you're already there, you're already sitting down, you already got toilets. Why wouldn't you just shit while you're there?" I was like, they probably all do smell like shit.
No, it's not that. It's that they like half squat and just piss all over the walls.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
they don't have they don't have like the same kind of stream we do. They do a bit, but it's not as directed. It's kind of the further it gets away from the source, the more
So it's sort of like
like
it's
the
like a backwards
splatter.
bidet.
Yeah, exactly. What? I'm not wrong, Jen.
This is becoming a very good Sunday stream.
What kind of girls do you date? Ones that don't want to sit on the seat at a club and piss all over the wall.
I mean, come on. Does anybody really want to sit on a toilet seat at a club? Like, I wouldn't do that unless I was having like explosive diarrhea.
In which case, you should really think why you're at the club.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
even going to go out if that's the case. I'm just going to sit at home and just keep that bidet running the whole time.
What's the physics? Well, what do you mean, what's the physics?
I don't know, Jen. Why don't you try to hit a target
I'm
shooting a
saying that it
handgun with your butt?
expands out from the source. So the further you remove the source, the wider the array of points where there's impact. Men have a laminar flow, right? And so we've got
Pseudo laminar.
huh?
It's pseudo laminar, but yes.
Well, yeah. So we've got some distance, that we can cover and still hit the ideal target. Is this during your super tall woman phase? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, there's nothing wrong with tall women.
Well, so the real physics is that men's pee streams actually come out in like a stream of droplets, but because there's a more direct path out, it follows a clean parabolic trajectory, which we as humans are very accustomed to predicting the paths of those things. And plus if you're standing up while you pee all your life, you get very used to eyeballing just about where you got to aim to hit your target.
It's about the nozzle. This is the best Sunday stream ever. I can't believe JFresh missed this.
He's gonna be so pissed.
I can't. You
Pun
know what I
intended.
can't believe is Dave isn't weighing in on this.
I know, right? I
It's
mean,
like
this
he's
all started.
abandoned us.
I know, man. Damn. I was hoping to get an answer on this, but either he's typing up like a whole document for us, or he's just like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here." God
He
damn
gets
it.
enough work at work.
Exactly. Sunday stream.
Nice. Yeah, so
uh,
I'm still a little worried about China as it factors into the uranium trade, but long term I'm not. Like the value of uranium needs to rise in the long term. And I know it's risen a lot, but it hasn't risen enough. The future outputs of current uranium mining operations are not going to meet the future demand for uranium. That's it. That's the whole thesis, right? So yeah, you can get it at a cheaper price. You could probably get it at a cheaper price over the next few years than it is now, but you might not.
wow, Girk, I didn't realize you're such an AI bull.
I'm not an AI bull.
But nuclear demand from AI facilities is
I
going to
don't
go
give
through
a
the
shit
roof.
about the AI demand on fucking nuclear power. We just need more power.
More
And
power.
we need to convert more of our, carbon producing energy systems to green energy, right? Like that's just a thing we're going to have to do. And the only green energy source that has like 100% uptime and is reliable as fuck is nuclear. The only
Yeah, and
problem with nuclear is that people are afraid of it for no
that's the one thing
reason.
that confuses me about the whole thing about green energy, okay? So, like, okay, maybe you think climate change is like human-induced climate change is a hoax. Okay. I can work with that, right?
No.
But why okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't
All right.
agree with that, but I can work with it, right?
Okay.
So, even if you believe that, why would you think it is a net negative to try to make sure that our oil is not burnt for energy when we can source it from other places because the burning of oil itself, is a pollutant and we like having clean air, right?
Oh, hold on,
Regardless of
hold on,
climate
hold on.
change.
You're starting to sound a lot like a fucking communist. Are you trying to
I
take our
know I
guns away?
am. No, I'm trying to make your kids trans.
Mm, you're a son of a
But
bitch.
I mean, like seriously, like if we hate, you know, if we just want clean air, right? We want to have alternative energy sources, and sure, yeah, we will use oil for petroleum for things like plastics for fucking ever. But now we're gonna have way less scarcity for those things, and we can improve the efficiency of those things, and then at the same time also not burn stupid shit just to keep the lights on,
Well,
right?
Dork, I don't know if you know this, but when we run out of petroleum products in the Earth's like crust, now we can harvest the microplastics from your balls.
Ooh,
Yeah, so that's why we keep doing it.
oh, Soylent Green was a petroleum product all along.
Yeah.
Wow, mind blown.
We don't track
But
the
yeah,
radioactivity that's released from fracking. No, no. I mean, yeah, okay. So I mean, you're just making the case that people are being belligerent and obstinate. I'm like, what? They shouldn't do that because that's not real. The don't the what are those people that have like the monster trucks or like the lifted trucks, but then they take the catalytic converter off and they're like they're what is it rolling
rolling
coal?
coal.
Yeah, those cunts. Like,
Yeah,
isn't that just like peak exactly what's going on? Like they've taken it to an extreme, but they want to make more pollutants. Like they're actively like they're like the guy who would rather burn his trash than throw it in the street.
I guess. Yeah. They're like, this is so inconsequential that, as a matter of fact, in my infinite wisdom, I am going to waste money burning this gas and
Yeah,
putting it in your face.
to make a statement about how small my penis is.
Well, just about how stupid I am about, and how self-centered I am. That's really it. People like that, their universe is them, and we're all just,
We're all just living
we're all just
in
worship.
their
No, we're
story.
worshiping. We're not even living in it. We just don't even exist.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, and I don't know. I think that's really kind of, I guess, the base issue, right? Is we have
whoa,
too much self.
calm down. Is
What?
Nuke rolling coal?
I don't. You know what? He's not rolling coal, but he is. He does have a big truck.
How big?
It's pretty big. I had to
Oh,
jump to get in it.
oh no.
Yeah, it's
Is it
decently
really
big.
clean? Like, has it ever been off road? Does it have any dents?
Uh, you know, I mean, I did kick it really hard to give it a dent, to give it some character,
Oh, okay,
but
cool.
I don't think he's seen it yet. But yeah, if he ever does a 360 around his truck, he's gonna notice something.
Yeah, we could put nuclear reactors in cargo ships. It'd be perfect.
We really should be putting nuclear reactors everywhere, if we're
Yeah,
being honest.
they're awesome. We could
They're
put
fucking
nuclear reactor in Nuke's lifted truck too.
yeah. You'd be rolling tritium.
We need one of those salt reactors, the thorium ones.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. Uranium prices, I bet they will go up. It's an inevitability, and I think these morons that think that oil as an energy source is our permanent solution they're gonna be out as
Well, in case it
morons
doesn't
pretty
happen
quickly.
right away, I'm also long coal, right? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, if China's economy is in the gutter, then I mean, long
yeah,
coal is perfect.
yeah. Also, Indian economic expansion, right, in the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
coal kind of
I
benefits
want to
from
be
both of
long.
those.
I wanted to be long their currency for a while.
I know you did, which was terrible.
Yeah, it's a long-term buy and hold, Kirk.
Yeah, like 30 years. I'm rolling BTUCCs. Is that rolling coal? Yes.
Uh,
One of these days you guys will figure out that all of my long-term plays are structured and all tie together in a meaningful way. But
whoa, whoa,
until
whoa,
that
Kirk.
day, whoa,
Whoa.
what?
What?
Like a
Are you
strategy.
saying that you manage your portfolio centralized around one or more theses about the direction of the global economy and financial markets?
Yeah, over time.
Holy crap, dude, that is insane.
I
That's some
know.
crazy talk.
That's why my returns are so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're crazy. Look at you talking
It's like
about
building a
emotion.
house.
Yeah, you're not just focused in the next like day or two of with your entire portfolio.
No, not at all.
Holy crap, dude, this is some revolutionary stuff.
I
Someone should write a
know.
book about this.
People have.
What?
Yep.
Were
I
they
know.
banned from libraries?
Yes.
Ah, no
Lies?
wonder I've never heard
All lies.
that.
It's no coincidence that I'm long Go EV and coal and nat gas utilities and uranium.
Seriously. What's the deal with GoEV? Didn't they get another like
They're
customer or something?
they're getting more funding. I don't know. See, Go EV is kind of interesting for me, right? On one hand, I think their management's completely inept and will absolutely do everything in their power to drive the company into the ground. But on the other hand, I think their business model is so fucking good that even through the ineptitude of their management, they could be a success.
Yeah,
Because
I
for their management to unlock more capital, they have to create manufacturing facilities and actually build a product, right? And since the management wants more capital so they can fly more private jets, at some point they're going to actually make vehicles. And if they start making vehicles, they have an entire market of fleet electric vehicles all to themselves that nobody else is trying to get into in any meaneful way.
yeah, I completely agree. Like airport
Not only
vans,
that, they
those
can
things.
build because of the because their engineers are actually really smart. They've created like a component based uh like manufacturing process where every company that orders from them can have like their own custom vehicle built on that platform,
Yeah, I mean, well,
which
like
is
when I think,
genius, right? Like, and
I just
so
I think they have a lot of potential um, for fleet vehicles and industries that you wouldn't really expect right out of the box.
also when all the other automakers are eating shit and discounting their inventories because rates go down and inflation drops, they'll be killing it because everyone's going to be dumping money onto capex, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
um, the fleet vehicles for like ISPs and stuff and integrators and all that. I think that's where they have a huge untapped market. People who just want a van full of tools, that kind of shit.
What about
Like,
Rivian? But all of their manufacturing's focused on their retail vehicles. Like
yeah, Rivian just wants to make
the
pickup
vans they
trucks.
made for like the vans they made like Amazon's actually already been in like contact with GoEV to manufacture fleet vehicles because the production run for those vans was kind of exclusive to Amazon and they're not really set up to keep building them for them. Like Rivian's focused on taking like Tesla's market share. And that's what their investors want, right? So, but
Yeah,
GoEV
exactly.
doesn't have to worry about that. They're purely focused on fleet vehicles.
Yeah, no, they could make a van and just fill it with like toolboxes and stuff and sell it for to to integrators and all that and make a fucking killing.
Yeah, Ford will just get bailed out again. Too
Yeah,
many
Ford's not going
jobs.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually
I
like
don't think
Ford
they'll be
stock.
successful, and yeah, sure they could absolutely go bankrupt again, but they'll just get bailed out of it.
I really like Ford stock below $10. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's
I
fair.
really like it below 10. So if it goes below 10, I'm probably picking up a decent chunk of it, depending on the.
I can't wait for the Nikkei to crash on a rising yen so I can buy some Toyota.
Oh, you're right. Ooh, that's gonna
Yeah,
be good.
Toyota and Mitsubishi. That's like the
Yeah,
Caterpillar of Japan.
yeah. Mitsubishi is fucking huge everywhere outside the U.S.
They're huge in the U.S. People just don't know they make shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
They make all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Massive Japanese megacorps on a discount. That's gonna be awesome. Especially when they start like their revenues start rolling over from a stronger yen. Ooh, that's gonna
So
be some
Lost Your
spicy
Gun
shit.
Mazda is a Korean company.
Isn't Mazda owned by Ford?
They might be.
Pretty sure they are.
Well, they were a Korean company.
Thought Ford bought out Mazda in like the 2000s.
Did they? Am I that far behind on auto manufacturer mergers and acquisitions? Damn. Should I submit my resignation?
Oh no, they don't. Never mind. They have a
Haha!
25% stake in the company. 33.4%. Oh, no, they fully divested their share of Mazda in 2015.
Haha!
So yeah, they were building it up for a long time, but then I guess they got back out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that they got out. Oh, curious.
Damn, Ford dropped a lot, dude. They dropped like what, 30% or something?
How did they do that? Stupid. Clearly, they didn't know that the Nikkei was gonna rip.
God, I
Any thoughts on
remember right.
BTC regaining all-time high? Didn't Trump bump it a bunch? It didn't regain its all-time high, but it rocketed up on his like BTC speech until he said he was going to get rid of Gensler.
Who's he gonna replace him with? An actual clown?
I mean, Gensler's probably done more to mainstream crypto than any other SEC head would.
Well, it's just because he had to.
Yeah, and if they get rid of him, they bring in that one bitch who hates everyone. I
I
forget
mean,
her
I just
name.
find it ironic. I just find it ironic that you know, the SEC had the gall to make fun of meme stonkers for speculating in the prospects of a business, and yet they're completely mum when it comes to rampant speculation on other businesses, right?
Yeah,
I should go find that video and post it on Twitter and be like, "Don't forget, guys," and then tag like Nvidia and shit.
I can't remember her name, but she's the worst. She's just like fully corrupt and owned by the hedge funds. Um, at least like Gensler's not. I mean, Gensler's not that bad. It's the SEC. I mean, all they do is Hester Pierce. That's her name. She hates financial reform so much. Anyway, S&P coming week projections. No JFresh. I'm just gonna exclude his input this week. Who won?
Oh, I think you did,
Did I?
or maybe I won
I don't know.
on a technicality.
You might have beat me on a technicality. You did, although I nailed the low for the week, which makes me feel like I should win.
You know what? I'll give it to you.
I don't care. It's fucking. Who
I
gives
don't
a
care
shit?
either.
Um, let's see. We've got so much data this week. We've gotta rally a little bit, right? Because we can't have bad data in a negative gamma environment.
Do we have a choice?
No, but we've at least gotta like at some point I think we've gotta push up to like 55.30. I'm gonna Yeah, I'm gonna kinda go with this. Yeah. Hold on. Maybe we pull back still a little bit Monday and then move up. Wednesday's FOMC, right?
I think so. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's Wednesday.
I think something like that. No, I'm gonna bring that
Ooh.
up.
All right. Let
No, wait,
me.
that was 5,000, right? That is 5,000. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go like this. Okay, so like that, and then like that. I'm getting my price points figured out.
Alright.
Go like this. Yep, that looks right. And we're gonna go close here.
I'm gonna do JFreshes while you're busy.
Do it. Yeah, this one's I'm trying to do pretty good this time. And then I think for the rest of the week we probably do
Did he actually give us one? He's still in his movie.
Dude, why does he watch movies? All right, I got a prediction.
Alright.
So Monday open flat, midday 5,500, close 5,480. Midday Tuesday 5,500, close
I'm gonna kill you.
close 5,470. Okay, okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
Then by close Wednesday 5,500. Or wait, no, sorry, wait. Uh, no, because it is Wednesday. Okay, so midday Wednesday 5,500, and then close the week at 5391.35.
Yep, 91.33.
That's close enough. I'm just trying to hit the bottom of that wick.
I missed a die on my prediction. There we
Way
go.
to go.
Alright. Oh, I see what you're trying to hit. Yeah, that should be right.
Yep, they're close enough. If we go below that this week, then bad.
Yeah, I mean tomorrow if we drop below that, it's gonna be ugly as fuck. But I think they've built up enough support that they're gonna push. This is kind of higher than I want it to be. There, I want it to be around. Yeah, I think like that. All right, I think I'm good. Jfresh didn't really hint at what he thought this week
Well, he
anywhere.
said the options chain is a mess, so I assume he's going to say they're going to sell puts to the moon, and we're going to close at 55.70.
The options chain is a mess. He's not wrong. It's kind of fucky. we really just have like a lot of flat gamma around spot. And we can, I mean, we could really trade from like 55, 60. You know, honestly, we could trade from like 5,600 all the way down to like 5,350.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's just the range is nuts. Um, I think most of the deltas still in the money right now, so that's a bit squeezy. But overall, things are pretty bearish. They are selling a lot of puts to the downside, I think, though. Like 5420 through 50, like on the shorter dated expirations, were just. They sold the fuck out of those into the end of this week.
God, I hope they get blown up.
Like the 5400, 5420, 5435s are so heavily sold into this Friday. But we
God, I hope
still
they
need
get
to
blown
get
up.
above. Yeah, but the problem is we still need to get above like 55 20, 55 50 to get out of like the negative, like the bearish positioning.
Yeah, it's a bit of a climb, right?
Yeah.
And it's even made even more difficult by the fucking short ball straddle on zero DTEs that I'm sure they're going to be leaning into even harder since VIX is continuing to remain elevated.
Yeah, yeah, they need to crush vol out before they can start pushing the long puts out. And the long puts have all the delta right now, right? Like, actually, I could just kind of show everybody. So, boom. I love this. I love being able to just screenshot this shit and then just be like, here's the options data that supports the shit I'm talking about.
It's fun.
This is the coolest part about building this, is just being able to have all of it accessible and not like show people Excel charts because that's cruel. Yeah, so if we look at the delta into the OPEX expiration, all of the most of the current delta is in the money, which means if we get above 5,500, this thing just squeezes, or at least starts to squeeze, like 55 25, 55 30, and then it could slow down again. I will say that it is kind of spread out, but it is all in the money. You drew the prediction through the weekend? Did I? Oh shit, we drew it to the wrong Friday.
Did we?
Wait, no, we didn't. No. No, we're good. It's just Friday close, so Monday 9:30 a.m. is where the lines end. That's correct.
I thought so.
You mean squeezing the sold puts? No, the in the money puts. Sold or not sold, it doesn't matter. But there's not, like, if you look, there's not a lot of delta to the downside, right? So even if we fall to the downside, it's really likely that we just slip back up again. Um, because there's no liquidity down to the, like, down here. Oh, but you can't see that because my mouse is under the fucking image. Yeah, delta chart till next Friday.
Yeah, I mean,
Peeing answers above. Oh, Dave weighed in on the peeing thoughts.
oh, he did.
He
What did
did.
he say?
Hold on.
Oh, we missed this? Shit.
Also, the misfires slash misfires, urethral strictures, and substance abuse are probably leading causes. That's the only thing that you wrote in chat. I don't think your other comment printed. You didn't print to the tape, Dave.
Yeah, your order didn't fill.
No, no, I can't go. There's nothing higher. That's. I'm looking at his channel activity. Oh, yeah, there's only 4 messages.
FT Dave, yeah. Failure to Dave.
Failure to Dave. All right, well, I've got to go. So, I'm gonna have to reach out. I'm gonna have to reach out to Dave privately and try to get filled in on that information.
Yeah, please make sure you make this you do an announcement to everybody so that
Yeah,
they're all
I'll let
filled in on
everybody
this.
know on the stream tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
very
that'll be
important.
perfect.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dork, thanks for coming on here and giving up your hour and a half of Jamiroquai for the benefit of our viewers.
I'm
Um,
going right back into
yeah,
it.
I'm sure you are. I'll catch you later, man.
Thanks for having me later, bud.
You got it, dude. Later. Um, yeah, so I will see you all bright and early tomorrow. I'll have Pickles Picks out tonight, and as always, if you had any questions and I wasn't unable to answer them, not about urinating, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be around for the rest of the day. Later, guys.
Kinney's Mayonnaise is a proud sponsor of Pickle Financial, so when you get a hankering for some creamy